Mm. Hey, family. Okay, I see it now. How you doing tonight? I'm going to share this on my Facebook page before we get started. Okay, tag Stephanie, Sonia, Maya, Tasha, Mari. No, I don't see it yet. Goodness. Give me a minute. Give me a minute, family. Hey, see you, Bridge. Give me 1 second. Okay. Bridget's in the house. Yes. Hey, O. How you doing, son? Oh, God. I need to be having you do this, Amari. Just click. Join. Okay. Post. How you doing tonight, family? Tonight we're going to be talking about the 360 degrees of molestation. My God. My goodness. Now I need to send this to Elizabeth. So, here. Oh my goodness. Excuse me, you guys. Give me a few more seconds. Few more seconds. And I got her number already in my phone. Okay. I'm going to have somebody else doing this while I'm trying to do this. I'm sorry, you guys. Elizabeth. Okay, here we go. Okay, tonight we'll be talking about, thank you for being patient with me. This is our second day on the air, on live. I welcome everybody as they come into the room. We're going to be talking about 360 degrees of molestation, and really that's the outcome of the, let's see the word that I'm trying to use, the ramifications of what happens when you're molested, when your innocence is stolen from you at a very young age, any age, basically, but as a child, you know, for me, I didn't know what molestation was, but when nobody's really taught molestation. But when it happened to me, hey, Liz, love you, girl. Thank you for coming in. Be patient with me. Let's see. I was 5 when it started. And, like everybody's been told my story. I've told my story before about the rejection from my mother and the boundless relationship that she had with me, and a little girl just starving for love. And my uncle began to proposition me, and I didn't, as a little girl, you don't really know what this stuff is. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it wasn't right, and I knew I didn't want it to happen to me. And he actually did it by offering me candy. And as a little girl, everybody else got the candy but me. So if I didn't allow him to do what he did to me, I wouldn't get the candy. So my reaction to that was to go into the bathroom and bang my head on the wall and look in the mirror and just chant, I hate myself, I hate myself, I hate myself, because I knew it wasn't right what he was doing to me. But for me to get what the other kids got, I went ahead with it. So, I can remember when my mom got sick. She had an aneurysm in her brain, and one day we had got out of church. As I stated before, that my grandfather was a pastor, so dealing with the pre-K kids and the pre-K grandkids. So being in that family, you had to go to church. And I remember coming home from church. We were really young, me and my sister, and my mother passed out in the hallway. And of course, the ambulance came and stuff, and they told us that she didn't make it, but actually she was alive from being on a respirator. So, and excuse me when I look up sometimes. Sometimes when I start telling my story, my eyes look up to the heavens. But I'm consciously knowing this about myself right now, so I'm going to try and do better. Trying to get myself adjusted right for this cam. So I remember they telling us that my mother didn't make it, and then they called my grandmother back, a while after that, and said, you have echoes, and that's because of the volume of that thing was up. Okay, we got that. My mother got out. My mother didn't get out the hospital. When we went to see her, that's because of Mari. When we went to see her, she was like a vegetable. She didn't know who we were. She didn't, she was like, who are those little girls? And who's the cute little girls? So she had to really remember to do everything again. She had to remember, she had to learn to walk. She had to learn to do everything again. And after she recovered, she started running off. I guess she got with the wrong people and started using drugs. And she probably had used drugs before, but this time it came with a vengeance. And she started leaving us with my grandmother. So, we're living with my grandmother, living in a house with the predator. So I was angry, so I started running away from home. I started running away, and I was like, I don't want to live here, and this is still happening to me, because I think it started at 5, and he stopped doing it at 12, and that was when I had enough, because I was like, because I remember always telling him, don't pee inside of me. I didn't know that he was, busting one, ejaculating inside of me. As a little girl, I didn't know what that was. I thought it was pee. And I just hated it. I hated it. I just hated how I felt every time he did that. So I said, I'm not doing that no more. I don't care about no candy. So I started running away. And, it really impacted me bad, because it taught me to get money for my body. So I remember this being out there, and we used to live in San Francisco in Potrero Hill, and my mother had a friend that used to live next door from us, and she was like her goddaughter. And I don't know how I ran into her. I don't know how I did it, but she said, come stay with her. So I went and I stayed with her. And her brother, I think at that time I had turned 13. And her brother, he was fine as hell. But he was 27 years old. I was 13. And I had a crush on him. And so I started messing with him. And I remember back then, they were in their 20s, their 30s, their early 30s, and I'm hanging out with the older crowd. That's always been who I was growing up, hanging out with the older girls. When I ran away, I was with the older kids. I was just a little 12-year-old, but I always hung out with the older kids, and one night, they would be sitting up snorting powder, smoking it in a cigarette. I didn't know what drugs was back then. But I remember trying it. And so one night, my god sister, because we called her my god sister's boyfriend came into the room. I was asleep with her daughters in their room because I slept with them. And she... I'm trying to keep this thing so it's this thing. I can't keep it still.
Okay, that's cool.
But it's not gonna stay. I'm gonna have to sit here and hold it. Okay, so he came in the room one night and he propositioned me, and he said he would give me $75 if I let him go down on me. I didn't know what go down was. I didn't know what that was. I knew what having sex was. But, girl, we here trying to get it together. Okay. My son want me to have it perfect, y'all. I'm sorry. So, I took the proposition. I was like, I don't know what, going down was, but whatever it was, it had to do with sex. And all I thought about was the money. I was 13, and I was runaway. I didn't have no money, and $75 was a lot of money for me. So I did it. And, he went down, whatever. He gave me the money. We also set up and smoked some caviar cigarettes. I didn't know what I was feeling, but I did it because, I was with the older crowd. So the next day, I felt like shit. I mean, I was like, guilty. I felt bad what I had did. And I told her. Okay. That's better, I think. Is my hair still chopped off?
It's better.
Okay. So I felt guilty and I felt bad. So I went in the refrigerator and they had a bottle of gin. So I took the gin and I went in the bathroom and I mixed up me a big old cocktail. I never tried to commit suicide, but I just knew that I was hurting. I had told my god sister what I did. Her and her dude was fighting. Then her brother came over and beat the hell out of me and took the money. So I said, I'm going to end my life. So I took a bottle of Bear aspirins, one of them big old bottles, and Excedrins. So I took both of them. So she had put me out, and for whatever reason, my mother, she would show up in town, every now and then. And she happened to show up, and she was at my aunt's house. So she called my aunt, you better come get your daughter. And she told her what happened, whatever. And so they picked me up. I was just walking up and down the path, dizzy and all this stuff. So we got to my aunt's house, and they made me lay down. I was really sick because I had took all of those pills with that gin. And my little cousin used to wet the bed, so I smelled his piss. And I started throwing up. And I mean, I was throwing up. So they called the ambulance to come get me. Of course, they pumped my stomach. And they put me in the nut ward. And I knew I wasn't crazy. I just knew I was in pain. And I didn't want to feel that hurt no more. So I talked my way out of the program, out of being in that nut house. And because I seen crazy people in there talking crazy. I was like, I'm not like these people, I'm not going to do it again. So my mother decided after that incident, they decided not to press charges because he really molested me. I was 13. This nigga was 30, 5 years old, you know, and they could have pressed charges, but they didn't press charges. So my mother decided to take me to Oakland, California. I was still living in San Francisco at that time. And so my mother decided to take me to San Francisco. And I mean to Oakland. So I came out there to Oakland with her, and we were living in a hotel. My mother was, you know, turning tricks, you know. So we had my little brother. So my mom was turning tricks and stuff, and you know, she attempted to put me in school, and I tried to do the school thing, you know, but I was busy because I hung around dudes. I was real, you know, I was real cute, the little cocoa bottle, shaved long hair, you know, and I just never really been the type to hang around a whole bunch of females. I always had one or two friends, but I never really been the type to hang out with cliques. So females never really could get with me, and I think it was jealousy. But I was selling weed in the bathroom, one of her tricks, because her tricks used to take good care of me. They didn't do anything to me or anything like that, but they definitely took care of me. I can go down there, leave school, go down there and get some money from where they were. And so I kind of got sick of my mother turning the tricks and stuff. So I said, you know what? So I met a few girls like me in Oakland, and I decided to strike it out for myself. But this is what the behavior of being abused. I'm just saying all of this because this is the behavior of being abused, what it can turn you out to be, you know. And so I really started getting out there then. And I remember one day we was in the, my mother was still using the drugs. We was in the hotel. And I remember this, I can't forget it, because we was staying across the street. We was staying at the Westwind Lodge, MacArthur Boulevard. Those of you from the Bay Area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they had the MacArthur Mall across the street. So I remember this one particular day, my mother was getting high. She did it in front of me and my brother. And I said, Mama, let me do that. And at this time, I was 13. Yeah, I was 13. And she let me try it. I didn't know what, like I said, I didn't know what I was feeling. I didn't really get involved in the drug scene really yet, where I got addicted. But I tried it with my mother, and I just couldn't believe it, because you know how you can have cool mother let you smoke weed and stuff. I just thought my mother was cool. You know, I didn't realize that that was really bad. That was really bad. That was really bad. So, you know, that happened. So I decided to strike it out on my own. And I started hanging out with my sister. She's going to be my sister for the rest of my life. Her name is Kiki. And you heard about Kiki and Stephanie. You know, we was the mob bitches. I ended up dating her boyfriend's brother. And that's who I had my kids with. So we were dating brothers, and, you know, they had the little crew called the mob back then. It was very organized back then. It ain't like it is now. You know, drug scene was very organized. We don't have gangs in California, but we got turfs. And, you know, we was in the Acorn. So, you know, I did all that stuff, selling dope and all of that. Met my kid's father. Oh, this is really important about how I met my kid's father. He had already had a baby with this girl, and he was in jail. He just got out. So I remember it was the 4th of July, and we were, me and Kiki went boosting so we can get some outfits that we could wear a lot. So we went shoplifting. So, you know, we was hella cute that day or whatever. And the night before that, we had been smoking weed in her and her boyfriend's house. So the brother came. And this is the kid's father, and she was like, you know, I could tell he liked me, but I was like, oh, he looked like a monkey. I ain't finna talk to him. So he ended up saving my damn life. So I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. You guys read the book, and you'll catch what I'm saying. But you remember back, like, okay, I remember her telling me this. So I had actually left. I had left Oakland for a minute, went back home for a minute because I was dealing with this girl while I was out there. You know, she was a prostitute. And, you know, she loved me. She was like, I ain't finna let you out there doing doing what I'm doing. And, you know, she took care of me, took me shopping, made sure I stayed clean. Because one thing I did when I was out there, even on the drugs, I took care of myself. I kept my cute. So, her dude was a pimp, of course, and he was one of the mob dudes. So he used to see her with me, and he used to beat her up because he thought she was teaching me the game, but she wasn't. She was just trying to protect me, you know, keeping food in my mouth and making sure I was cool. And this is one of the times where me and Kiki had kind of split ways for a minute because me and her did that a lot in our journey. But that was my bestie in the whole wide world. So this one particular night, her dude said, you know, she gonna have to hold for me if she gonna be with you. So she's like, Stephanie, you know, little sister, boom, boom, you gonna have to do this. And I was like, you know, I was gullible. I was a little fucking girl. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just going with the process, you know. So we in the bed together, all of us. Okay. He in the middle, I'm on one side, she on the other side. You know, we was doing the little drug stuff. Like I said, I still didn't know what I was doing, but I was just doing it because that's what they were doing. So I'm sorry you got to hear all of this, but you know my story. So he got on top of me, and he started, you know, having sex with me. And she jumped up and she said, "You trick motherfucker." She said, "She don't want you. She's only doing that because she want to be around me." And if I tell you this nigga he beat her till she started having seizures. Beat her with a lap. I mean, he beat the dog. And he told me, he said, "Now, bitch, you going to have to hold for me." He told me that. So, you know, I got away from him. I was 13. I was still 13 at that age. So he was like, "Bitch, you going to have to hold for me." So I was like, I was scared. I was scared of this dude because he had beat the hell out of her. I mean, she literally started having seizures. And so I went on with that. I got away from him for a minute. Went back to San Francisco like I always did. Go to my grandma. Go to my safe haven. And, you know, the street start itching me again. So I go back out. So I went back out, and this is how me and the baby daddy met. I had skipped that part. That part was necessary to say, though. So, like I said, we in the room tonight smoking weed, whatever. You know, he trying to holler, but I was like, ugh, he looked like a monkey. So the next day, you know, the 4th of July, like I said, we went boosting. We were selling dope at the time. And I think we were selling heroin and crack. And then I was walking. If people in California who know the Bay Area, who know Acorn, they know. So I was walking through the middle, and I was going through one of these little hallways, and the guy rolled up on me on a moped, the G-Baby. I mean the guy, the girl's pimp. And he held me up in the corner. He said, "Oh, bitch, you back. You finna hoe for me." And who walked through the hallway? Captain Save a Hoe. My baby daddy walked through the hallway. And like I said, he liked me, but I didn't like him. I said but that nigga looked beautiful to me that day. He was the finest thing on the earth that day. He was like, "Nigga, she ain't about to do a damn thing for you." And he's one of the OG dudes that's in the mob. My kid's father was a youngster, but his brother was one of the top heads in it. So he saved me. He saved me. G-Baby couldn't do that. I mean, the dude couldn't do nothing but respect me after that. Yeah, girl, because my kids all look like him. But they cute because of me. Nah, he's a nice looking monkey. But so that's how me and my kid's father got together. And he took me off the streets. He you know, introduced me to his family. You know, I was a runaway, so his family started taking care of me. And lived with one of his sisters, you know, and you know, a lot happened, you know, after that. But that molestation, I'm telling you, it plants a seed inside of you, your spirit, and it follows you for the rest of your life. But I thank God that I know who I am. Hey, mama. Hey, Shay Shay. Hey, daughter-in-law. Love you. I seen you. So, you know, he planted that seed in me, and it really, it grew. And it was a thing that taught me that I couldn't be with a man unless he paid me, you know. But I thank God for deliverance, because through the years, I know who I am. Can't nobody tell me who I am. I know what make me tick. I know what make me not tick. I know me. So, I thank God for deliverance because he definitely delivered me from that mentality that I had. Because when you know better, you do better. I didn't know better as a youngster because I was just, learning my way. I had my first son when I was 15. And like I shared my story about my son, about my second pregnancy. He went to prison. Their dad went to jail again, and most of the time he was in jail, I was pregnant. So I was pregnant already. I didn't know. And, my survival skills, for whatever reason, his sister that we stayed with used to always kick me out when he go to jail. And then when he come back, we go move right back in. We just go, because that's how he was. He just went in and made home wherever he at her house. He didn't get to do that with everybody, but he did that with her. And so this particular time, he put me out, and it was this guy that liked me. That's the only guy I ever cheated on my baby's father with, but it was really survival. But this guy had put me and my baby up in a hotel. Actually, at that time, my mother, I was taking care of my mother and my brother. So he put us up in a hotel, and very bad connection. What's going on? Can you guys see me? Okay, why is it saying very bad connection? Okay. Can you hear me perfect? Am I skipping or anything? Okay. Can you tell if I'm skipping? So, I almost lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, the hotel thing. Okay. It's buffering on and off, so it is tripping. I don't know what to do. We got good internet. We don't have this problem. It's better now. Okay. Well, I got to make sure the situation is right before I do that. Okay. So, no skipping. Okay. So I ended up messing around with the guy, and baby daddy got out. I'm pregnant. I didn't know, I was pregnant before he went in, but of course. So he's like, that ain't my baby. I remember we went and got a room, and he asked me, did I cheat on him? And I admitted, I'm not no liar. I don't know how to lie to people. I've always been a very honest person. So, even if I lie, I'm going to get caught up in my lie because I don't know how to lie. I just know how to be real. So I was honest with him and told him, and he acted a fool, whatever. He didn't start beating me up until, I think he hit me. I think he beat me. He started beating me up after I had my son, after I had my first son. It wasn't really bad until after I had I got pregnant with my second son. After I had my second son, that's when he started beating me for real. We'd be driving down the streets. And y'all, excuse me if I go in other directions, but my mind just kind of goes, because it's been so much. So, yeah, I was at 15. Yeah, wait a minute. Let me see. I had Amari at 15. Then I turned 16 in November because I had him in September. In November, I turned 16. So, no, I was 16. So, I remember when it started. We was riding down the street, and some niggas was looking in a car, and bam! My head hit the window. Bam! He slapped me because the niggas was looking in the car, and I'm like, I didn't do nothing. Hold on, So, but that's how he was. He was jealous. He was obsessed. I was his little piece of candy, and he was just, but he was a hoe. He was a hoe. Girl, family, let me tell you, I used to do the most craziest, drastic things. Getting in cabs with no money, going to go kick a chick door down because my baby daddy messing with her. do some crazy stuff. I used to get a cab, no money, tell a cab, I'll be right back to pay you. Go and look for my baby daddy. So I went through a lot with this guy. I went through through a lot. So I know I went off into something else, but you know, it's a whole book explaining it all, telling my whole story. But I kind of want to get to the part with my daughter when I got pregnant with her, because that's when I got tired. You know, I had my son. Oh, no, I'm going to share this part. Okay, I'm going to share the drug addiction. If you don't need that. I'm sorry, but it keep moving. I'm trying to, Amari, help me. Okay, Okay, so I'm going to move to the drug addiction part. That started after I had my second son, when I started getting addicted to drugs. And I know that we were talking about molestation, but these are still some of the ramifications of the things that I went through because of it. So I remember living with this lady, and Amari, I think my oldest was like 1, because I had them right back to back. They like 15 months apart. And I was staying with this woman, and he couldn't stay there, you know, but I needed a place to stay with me and my kids, because his sister had, you know, of course, did one of her things, put me out again. So I was staying with this woman, and I remember he used to leave his drugs with me to hold and watch. So, you know, I've smoked cigarettes. I started smoking cigarettes at the age of 12. So I've been smoking cigarettes for years. I can quit everything else, but the cigarettes is my my thorn. So I started, you know, I said, let me try this, putting some coke into a cigarette. And so I tried it, and I tried it again. Next thing you know, and he had a big old, I mean, it was a rock like this that I was holding for my kid's father, and I'm just chipping at it. He ain't paying no attention every time he come and re-up or whatever and do what he do, and I'm just smoking it. So eventually this woman, she put me out. And this is a hard thing to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it. When it comes to my babies is when I lose it. But she had put me out. So I was really I really had started that addiction thing. And me and my babies were homeless. You know, I had everything else. I remember these guys, I was trying to sell an iron for some money. And these guys, I don't want to mention the name of their crew, but yeah, they were a known crew. Like I said, Oakland, California, we have turfs and crews. We don't have no gangs. So this particular crew from this, they tried to rape me. So they had the dude pull this thing out. He said, "Bitch, suck my thing. You know, suck my dick." And I'm sitting there scared because he slapped me. And it was some other dude, so I guess they was going to take their turn. You know, and I'm young, just new to this stuff, I had somebody, probably some drug addict, watching my kids for me real quick while I'm on a mission. Woo, Lord. And so they tried to rape me, and the neighbor, because I was in the backyard, and the neighbor, "Leave that girl alone." So I took my chance and I ran, took my babies, I struck out of that neighborhood. So I remember just being out there lost with my 2 kids. My baby, my little one was he was so small. He was in his months. You know, I'm roaming around the streets on drugs, on crack. And I remember I called my auntie. We was in a hotel, and my oldest one woke up, and it was some stale chips with cigarette butts in it. And my baby was hungry, so he went after them chips, and I screamed and I yelled. I said, "No, you can't eat them." And I said, "Oh, Lord, what am I doing?" So I was like, "Oh, God, what am I doing? I got to do something, my baby." So I called my family. And I remember my aunt saying, "Go turn yourself in." I didn't know at that time that they had been looking for me. You know, they had sent CPS looking for me. So she said, go turn it. No, this is what caused them to start looking for me. And I said, before I do that, I'll take us three and we'll jump off the bridge before I go turn myself in to some white folks. And so I got tired. You know, my baby was wrapped up in the towel for his diaper. You know, my kids was dirty. I was messed up. I was messed up. I don't talk about this. I don't know if I ever talked about this situation in my book. I wrote about it, but I don't know if I ever really talked about this. But I'm going to give it to y'all because it's my truth. So I decided to take my babies and take them to their father's sister house, a sister that always put us out. So I left them with her and went back on my mission. And I think a couple of weeks went by. No, this didn't happen then. I gotta go with I'm gonna skip that. A couple of weeks went by, and I heard that I think I called and checked on the boys, and she said they were gone. I said, where they're at? What you mean they're gone? Your family sent protective services. I was like, oh my God, I was cussing her out. I was like, this bitch. But she couldn't have did, that's the best thing she could have ever done for me. I thank God this woman did. I'm glad his sister did what she did, because the love that I have for my babies, it was either a drug or my babies. So I stayed out there. I remember going to court, and I was going off on her, and my grandmother was there, and I felt real bad for my grandmother to see me like that. So I stayed out there lost. You know, my babies is in foster care. I got to get my kids back. So at that time, my grandmother had the baby. Between my sister and my grandmother, they had the baby, and my auntie had the oldest one. And I remember I was just tired. So, I'm 17, get ready to be 18 at this time. So finally, I think my auntie, she came and got me. And she said, you coming home with me? And she brought me back to San Francisco. And this is right before I was turning 18. They put me in a program the day of my 18th birthday. And it's this program called the Balding House in California. It's in San Francisco. So, I want my babies back. I don't care what I got to do. I got to get my babies back. So I did this program. I didn't do the whole program. I left, and I remember I promised God, I said, if I don't use today, I'll never use drugs again, which, I ended up slipping, going through a little roller coaster ride with it. But I did what I had to do to get my kids back. So I told the lady, I said, the social worker, I said, I'm not going back in that program. Those people are not going to control my life when I leave there. And that's what they teach you, to be dependent on them. And God is my everything. So I'm not going back to that program, but I'll do whatever you say. So they said I had to get a job. I got a job. I had to get an apartment. I got an apartment. I'm going to talk about that apartment because... I went to visit my kids twice a week, both of them. And I did that, and I can remember, finally, this is before I got my place, I went back to my grandmother's, and I still did everything that I had to do. And so I was dating this guy, which ended up being my daughter's godfather. I was dating this guy, and he was one of those type, like to dangle a carrot, make you dance for it. And I danced because I was trying to get my babies back. So I was willing to do whatever, get an apartment. And there's a very, very, very violent side of me that I haven't even tapped into. From being with my baby's father, I ended up turning into a monster. I mean, I was so bad back in the day. I spit in niggas' face. Didn't care. I was just that. I was that angry at men and just that ruthless of trying to protect myself. So this guy, I remember the day we was getting an apartment. So I get the kids back. So I did all this work. I'm about to get my kids back. I'm working at 7-Eleven, got my apartment, and he was dangling that carrot. He was doing that, and I ended up stabbing him. I ended up stabbing him with a knife. And I remember he chased me from one city to the next. I did some crazy stuff with him. I remember us being in the apartment and we get into an argument. I pull out a knife and chase him through the mall because it's like the place where I lived at was right next to the mall. And that nigga be running through the mall. I mean through the mall parking lot at night while I'm chasing him with a knife. I know I see it. I don't know what's happening. I see it, sis. Because I'm being me. This is me, Amari. I'm not going to be nothing else. People don't like it, they can go. So, okay, you don't want to hear the N-word, but it's the way I talk sometimes. Sorry. My son hates that N-word. So, okay, it's better now. She said it's better now. So, I went through all of that little stuff. I remember after going through so much with that guy, I was like, I'm not going to let no man control me. So I left he went to work one day. I took everything out the apartment, moved in with my sister, called my social worker, and I said, I did everything you said, got an apartment. I said, but I'm not going to be with no man. I'm not going to be with no man that thinks he can control me. I'm not going to do it to get my kids back. So she gave my babies back. So here I go again for another dose of baby daddy. Okay, I had 2 kids. And he got out. And, the other guy, he was still pursuing me. Baby daddy got out, and I went back for another dose of him. This time I got pregnant with my daughter. And that was kind of it for me. I have a family member from my creative family. God, I don't want to say that, but I got to say it. From my creative family that had, do I say this? Yes. Well, he's in prison now for the death of Huey P. Newton. And this was a very close person to me and to my children's father. So I remember going through that process and going to court, and we couldn't go to court after that because that's a big name. Huey P. Newton is a big name. He's fucking Panthers. But he wasn't living the right life then, and he got caught up. And so my kid's father, shortly after that happened, he decided to go on his little binge. And, next thing I know, he's in the paper for kidnapping family, a mother and a child. And I can't go to court with him because of the people who he did. So I'm pregnant with my daughter. I'm pregnant with my daughter. So that was it for me, pretty much. Details, there's more details in the book. But that was it for me. I was like, okay, he gave me my daughter. Now I'm done. So we have been split up ever since then, and he was probably, never really a part of my kid's life because he was in prison most of the time. But God did grant him time with my 2 before they died, because my son, I think he had been out of prison for 4 months. So he got 4 months with his son before he was murdered. And then he ended up going back in. So he was in prison when my daughter got murdered. And I know that was difficult for him. I know he probably blames himself. And, my kid's father spent a lot of years being with women, but still wanted to be with me. I was the best thing he probably ever had, and I was down. I was the ride or die chick, but after you go through so much, that's a done deal. So, who are you talking to, me? So I'm going to stop there. I gave y'all a little bit of stuff that I wasn't going to give y'all today. But if you guys have any questions for me, I'm going to stop right there with the baby daddy. And, there's so much more to the stories, but I don't want to give it all away. I do want you guys to read the book, and we'll be working on that. We'll be working on that as soon as possible, you know, doing a republish and stuff. And I'm going to actually be doing an extended version of it, you know. I have a few more chapters to give, you know, talking about my life. Because you think after you write a book, okay, the last chapter is over, you know, life, you finna go, but you never know what's coming behind that. And I never, ever would have thought that the completion of my book, my daughter would be gone. Is your baby daddy? Yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, he's still alive. He's still alive. I talked to him. When's the last time I did? Did I talk to him since I've been back from Detroit? No. I talked to him I talked to him last year, you know, before, well, no, 2015, a few months after my daughter died. My oldest son kind of kept in contact with him, but I think even now they've lost contact. But they didn't have a relationship with him, so it's hard to really, you know, because I pretty much raised him on my own. You know, he was a good sperm donor. You know, I thank God for him for giving me my 3 kids. You know, because after what I went through with my mother, I did have a moral concept that I was not going to have different baby daddies because I didn't want my kids to go through what I went through. So I just choose one no good one. Instead of having 3 no good ones, I used to say, well, maybe I should have had a different baby daddy because maybe one of them would have been cool. So y'all see why I'm a little cray-cray, because I've been through a lot, but I'm still here, crazy and all. So you guys have any questions? Oh, there you go. Who's in the house? I haven't been able to say hi to anybody but Elizabeth. And I know this channel's just beginning, so I don't care if it's only 2, 3, 4 of us in here. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to pick up, baby, because the story has to be told and people need it. And Liz, you still in there? Hey. You got any questions? Do you guys have any questions? We're going to probably close a little early because, you know, today I was kind of a little affected today by some things that I saw. And I just really need to, because this is the reason this girl, just her life just blesses my soul, you know, and her life just really have brought me to the point to where I am today to get up from all of this. I hope you guys can share this video. You know, I'm just being me. I don't know how to be nothing else. You know, I'm not all articulate, all this and that. I'm just Stephanie, and I have a story to tell. You know, I may talk a little different. I may, you know, have a few bad words, but I love people, and I'm ready to do what God has called me to do. And I know it's not in the church. It's right. It's for the world. And I do plan to do some great things in my near future. And I just appreciate you guys for taking your time out to watch and sit down and listen to my story. And thank you so much, Bridge. You got my back. I appreciate you so much. Amari. Everybody that's in the room, I appreciate you for coming in and taking the time, because you didn't have to do that. You could have been doing something else. On my About, when you click onto the About little icon up there, you can find all my information on there, my email, my website, my Facebook, PayPal, all that. I'm not doing this for money, but of course, you know, any blessings are always good. You can find all that information on there if you want to, you know, become a friend on Facebook. I have like several Facebook pages, and you know, I can't be quiet anymore. I've been quiet long enough. And you know, Liz, I love you, girl. You've been with me through all of this. You didn't see my transformations from everything from my son's death to my daughter's. So I appreciate you reaching out to me today, and I even appreciate you for taking the time to come on here and have me. So, all that information, all my contact information is on the About Me. I'm going to figure out how to get it on the description. Like I said, this is my second day. I don't really, I'm learning as I go. So, I'm going to check on out of here, y'all. We're going to have some good stuff coming up soon. So, keep watching. Even if you're not in here live, watch the video. Go to my about icon and subscribe and like my videos. I appreciate you guys, and I love you so much, and I'll talk to you in a little bit, Bev. Love you guys. I'm out today. 50 minutes. I gave you an hour. God bless.